Hey, what's up, guys? Today we're going to be installing a rugged radio on our 2019 Honda Talon. Full disclaimer, I actually bought this almost a year ago, right before we went to Rush Off Road, and never got around to installing it. So now we got some cold weather. I'm going to slap it in, see how that goes. Super excited to get this hooked up. Lack of communication when you're riding with a group sucks. Rugged radios is kind of like an industry standard. It's what everyone's running. So it should perform pretty reliably. About to see. Opening it up, there's really not much to it. You got your main receiver, your mic, and your cables for your power supply. That's about it. Random features. My understanding is the higher wattage just gives you a longer range. This one has a 10 to 12 mile range, I want to say. That's enough for me. Construction seems good, nice and stout. I think it seems like it'll hold up to the water. We definitely get muddy and pressure wash and all that, so we'll see how it holds up long term, but it seems like it will. Seems like it'll be fine. Got the microphone, which just plugs right into the front of the unit. Your antenna that we're going to have to mount in the back of the Honda somehow. And yeah. So, just got to get a couple things popped off on the Honda. Important note, Rugged Radios does sell an install kit with this that goes in the dash, but if you notice I got my tablet holder there. I didn't want it sitting on top, and I felt like it would mess the angle of the tablet up, so I'm going to go a different route, which I think will work out just fine. I'm going to use the supplied bracket and find somewhere creative. Not really sold 100% on where to put it, but we'll find somewhere. Gotta pop a couple things off, gotta get the windshield off, gotta get that front cowl, the hood off. That'll get me access to my 12 volt fuse distribution center that I put in when we first picked up the Talon, just to make adding accessories like this easier, which is basically sits right underneath that cowl. It's super easy to get to. And that's it. We'll pop all that off and see how smooth that goes. And I guess there's really nothing else left to do. Just go from there. Alright, that wasn't too bad at all. Pop the windshield off, pop that front cowl. That gives us access to all the stuff we're going to have to get to once it comes time to actually hooking stuff up. There's the fuse distribution center I was telling you guys about earlier. That was one of the first things I did to the Honda Talon. Really just makes adding accessories that much easier, that much cleaner, instead of just like a bus bar. I didn't really like the idea of a bus bar and whatever. Honda has these rubber flaps that's supposed to protect it, but it obviously does a pretty crappy job. Everything gets coated down here, but it's alright. It's all marine grade. That's what it's rated for. It should be fine. It's just a little dirty, a little unsightly once you pop covers off, but it doesn't mess the functionality. Brush it off, we're good. So now, I got all that tore apart. Now I got to start thinking about where I'm going to mount this thing. It's basically just like a little brick, if you look at it. And like I said, I didn't want to use the official Rugged Radio Honda Talon install kit because I didn't want to interfere. So I'm going to use that bracket. I'm going to try to find somewhere to put that. I thought about putting it down in that little cubby hole right there, but in order to get it to fit, I'd really have to butcher up the back, which I don't want to do. It's just going to let water and mud and stuff in. So I'm really thinking right here, which is kind of by your right knee. I am a little concerned with clearances. I don't want my knee bashing up against it, but looking at the layout of the interior, I really feel like it's kind of your only option. It's either that or the left knee. So that's what we're going to go with, I think. But I really need to figure out 100% to move forward where I want to put this thing. So let's do that. That'll get us to our next step, and we'll go from there. Alright. So after a couple beers and much consideration, we've decided on a spot. There really isn't that many good places to choose from. That's the reality. So our final destination is going to be that right knee area. It was really between this and the roof. I really definitely highly considered the roof. All things considered, I think this is just going to be easier to wire, easier to get the things there that I need to get there. And it, within quick reach, I like it right by my knee. I could just grab the microphone and talk. But yeah, that's where we're going. So now we just gotta figure out how to get all the wires there. I already got rid of the cowl and I got my access to my fuse distribution center. So all I gotta do is get positive and negative coming off of that thing, which is easy. It's right there. It's really super close. I can blast through the back of that firewall, give it some power. That's good. That takes care of that. And then we got the antenna on the back, which is literally just one cable. So I got to figure out if I want it on this plastic piece or the black hard plastic. Whatever. That's just kind of location, not a big deal. But somehow either drill a hole or come through. I can get creative as far as how I route that. Down here, there's a main wiring harness that goes up through the middle of the machine. You just got to pull that center console and the cup holders to get to it. Super easy to do, a couple of push pins, no big deal. So I'll do that, route that antenna back up there and get everything set up, and I guess we'll just go from there, see how it turns out. Alright, center console's off, got all that ready for our antenna cable to get it back up front like we were talking about earlier. Couple push pins, everything popped out of place. Really took a couple of minutes and that was about it. Now I got access to the back, which is where I was going to route that antenna cable like we were talking about earlier. I got the antenna set up back here, cooler out of the bed just to give me access. I did pull the air filter housing, or the cover for the air filter housing, just to get an idea how I was going to route it. I think I'm going to go mounting it in that location. I just feel a little bit better drilling into the dull plastic rather than the painted plastic. And I think it'll make my wire management easier as well. So I think that's what we're going to go with. Probably right there. Like I said, keeps it protected. Puts me right there, which is pretty much straight into the engine bay, which will allow me to pick up that main wiring harness going back up front and make everything super easy for me. So I think that's it. We'll start running that antenna cable. We'll get all that situated. And then we start mounting the unit itself, which should be easy. Let's see how that turns out, I guess. I don't know. Let's go. Alright, antenna's mounted. Ended up using the supplied little bracket. I just thought that I don't know, I kind of liked the way it looked, and I felt like it was a little more clean, and then it kept me from having to drill big holes into the plastic. For cable management, I just literally snug it between the housing, or I keep saying the housing, the cover for the air filter. Made sure it wasn't pinching anything, which it definitely isn't. It's kind of a loose fit to begin with. That threw the cable right underneath, where I was able to pick up that wiring harness like I've mentioned a few times before. So I literally just zip tied it to that and followed that same path up through the engine bay, back up towards the front where I'm going to mount the unit. Sorry, there you go. Now you can actually see it. So zip tied to that wiring harness. What that basically goes up to the middle of the machine, which then will get you up towards the front of the machine. So we'll follow it right here. Tilt that angle so you guys can see. There's that big bunch of wires right there. That'll get me back up to the front. There was a little hole right there in the cubby hole. I just kind of snuck it up. I don't know that I'm going to leave it that way. I got to see if there's a better way. I'll probably end up drilling a hole, even though I don't want to, just because I don't want the wires hanging out like that. But at least we're getting somewhere. Things are starting to take shape now. Alright, trying to route my power wire from the front to the back, and it's not going as smoothly as I had hoped. I've literally been shoving my entire arm down here trying to squeeze that connector through this little half-inch gap. And it's just not working. So rather than fight it, I think I'm going to try to go about this smart and get something to fish with. I don't have a fish tape, so I'm going to find some solid wire around the garage and make that work. Just push it up through there and it should work. Same concept, just different material. So let's see. Alright, found some Romex. This is what I'm going to use to fish. It's less than ideal, but it'll work. I'm going to push it right up here through that little half-inch gap that I was talking about. That should put it out on the engine bay side, or I'm sorry, not the engine bay side, the hood side, right where I need it to be. I could tape off to my wires, feed from one side, pull from the other, and that should feed my wire exactly where I need it to go. And it did. Worked like a charm. Was able to pull it up. I put a little fork terminal on that end. Really should have used some heat shrink. That electrical tape looks like crap, but it's fine. It'll work. 5-amp fuse, landed it on my ground bar, and now everything's ready to go. So I have the unit mounted on the inside. It's ready. that's about it. It really wasn't bad. This install was super easy. Alright, that's a wrap. Rugged Radio install 2019 Honda Talon is officially done. I got the cowl put back on. I'm still going to leave the windshield and the hood off because I got a couple other things I want to do, but that's fine. Overall, I was super happy with the finalized mounting location. I think it's going to be fine. I think I was overthinking it. My knee clears it by a lot, so we're good. It's kind of out of the way. I really like where it's at. I like the location of the microphone. It ends up right by my knee, really easy to access. Didn't want to put it under there, like I talked about earlier, but it's right there. Super easy to use, super easy to grab. It couldn't be any easier. Super excited to actually get it out and try it out, which is going to be a while, but no big deal. We'll get there. Thanks for watching, guys. Definitely appreciate it. If I did anything wrong, please feel free to correct me in the comments below. And until next time, Garza Gang Adventures. Thanks, guys.